The airport was alive with the usual chaos: rolling wheels, loudspeaker announcements, and the hum of conversations in a dozen languages. Emma blinked against the harsh fluorescent lights, still dizzy from her long flight from Madrid. Her shoulders ached from the cramped airplane seat, and her only thought was getting home, ordering takeout, and collapsing into bed. She found her spot near the baggage carousel, yawning as she waited for her suitcase to appear. The carousel clanked and began to move. Suitcases tumbled onto the belt, one after another, black and gray blending together in a blur. Emma's eyes scanned the stream of luggage, searching for her familiar black Samsonite with a tiny blue ribbon tied around the handle, a trick she'd learned to identify it quickly. Minutes passed, and then she saw it. A sleek black suitcase with the same ribbon, the same worn handle, and even the same scratch near the zipper. Relieved, she stepped forward and lifted it off the carousel. It was heavier than she remembered, but exhaustion drowned out her suspicion. She weaved through the crowd toward the exit, fumbling for her phone to order a rideshare. Outside, the cool evening air hit her face. She climbed into the backseat of a waiting car, gave her address, and let out a long breath. Finally, she muttered, leaning back. She didn't notice the driver glance curiously at the elegant monogrammed tag, D. Pierce. At that exact moment, inside the terminal, a man in a sharp gray suit arrived late to the baggage claim. Daniel Pierce, CEO of Pierce Enterprises, had just landed from London after a high-stakes business meeting. His assistant trailed behind, juggling phone calls and paperwork. Daniel's jaw tightened as he watched the last suitcase go around the belt. His wasn't there. It has to be a mistake, the assistant said quickly, calling the airline desk. But Daniel already knew what had happened. Someone had taken his bag. Inside that black leather suitcase were contracts, confidential files, and a flash drive holding plans for a billion-dollar merger. He rubbed his temples, frustration simmering under his calm exterior. Somewhere in the city, his future was rolling away in the trunk of a stranger's car. And that stranger, completely unaware, was humming softly, watching the city lights blur by, convinced she was finally heading home. Emma kicked off her shoes the moment she stepped into her apartment. The city outside her window glowed faintly under the evening sky, and the faint hum of traffic was the only sound. She dropped her coat on the couch and wheeled the suitcase into her bedroom, too tired to notice how strangely new it looked. Normally, her luggage bore the small signs of wear from countless trips, scratches, a smudge of pink nail polish near the zipper, but this one looked perfect. Still, exhaustion dulled her attention. She unzipped it quickly, expecting to see her folded sweaters and the souvenirs she'd bought in Spain. But what greeted her instead was a neatly organized collection of crisply ironed shirts, an expensive-looking shaving kit, and a sleek silver laptop. Emma froze. She blinked, looked again, and felt her stomach twist. These weren't her clothes. There wasn't a single item that belonged to her, not even her favorite yellow scarf. Her breath caught as she lifted a dark blue dress shirt, embroidered with elegant initials, DP. Confusion gave way to dread. "Oh no," she whispered. "Oh no, no, no." She dug deeper, hoping maybe there'd been some wild coincidence, that perhaps she and this mysterious DP had somehow packed the same wardrobe. But beneath the shirts, she found a slim leather folder. The gold lettering on the cover read, Pierce Enterprises, Confidential. Emma's pulse quickened. Inside were neatly arranged documents filled with charts, signatures, and legal jargon she didn't understand. A flash drive was tucked into a side pocket, and beside it, a handwritten note that made her heart sink even more, meeting rescheduled to Tuesday. "Don't lose this file, D." She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the suitcase like it was a ticking bomb. Pierce Enterprises, she murmured. The name sounded familiar, something she'd read in a financial article or seen scrolling past on TV. Whoever Daniel Pierce was, he wasn't just an ordinary traveler. Emma's mind raced through possibilities. Should she call the airline? The police? What if the person thought she'd stolen it? Panic prickled through her chest as she imagined being accused of theft, or worse. She quickly grabbed her phone, typed and erased several messages, and finally decided to contact the airline's lost luggage department. But before she could press send, she saw the business card tucked inside the folder. Daniel Pierce, CEO, Pierce Enterprises. She stared at the name for a long moment, the weight of her mistake pressing down on her. One wrong suitcase, one careless grab, and somehow, she'd just stepped straight into the life of a powerful man who probably wouldn't take kindly to strangers touching his secrets. Daniel Pierce's morning began with chaos. He sat in the back of his sleek black car, jaw tight, watching his assistant scroll frantically through her phone. "Still nothing?" he asked, his voice calm but laced with irritation. "Nothing yet, sir. The airline says they're investigating, but it looks like the bag was taken accidentally," she replied, adjusting her glasses nervously. Daniel leaned back against the leather seat, exhaling slowly. He prided himself on being composed, on never letting emotion cloud his judgment, but this situation tested even his patience. Inside that suitcase were the signed contracts and confidential projections for a multi-million-dollar merger that could shape his company's future. Losing it wasn't an option. By noon, his phone buzzed. It was an email, from an unfamiliar address. The subject line read, "I think I have your luggage." He opened it immediately. "Mr. Pierce, I believe I accidentally took your suitcase from the airport last night. I am so sorry. I didn't realize until I got home. Everything inside is untouched. Please let me know how I can return it to you as soon as possible. Emma Carter." He read the message twice. No excuses, no drama, just genuine remorse. For a moment, his anger softened. He typed a short reply. "Meet me at the cafe across from Terminal B at 3 p.m. Bring the suitcase. I'll handle the rest." 3 hours later, Daniel sat in a quiet corner of the cafe, a black coffee cooling untouched before him. He checked his watch again, impatience creeping in. Then the bell above the door jingled. Emma stepped inside, clutching the handle of the suitcase like a lifeline. She looked smaller than he imagined, disheveled from travel, a little pale, clearly nervous, but her eyes met his with quiet honesty. She walked over and set the suitcase down gently. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Pierce," she said softly. "It was an honest mistake. I swear I didn't look through anything except enough to realize it wasn't mine." He studied her, searching for any sign of deceit, but found none. "You could have ignored it," he said finally. "Most people would have kept it or waited for someone else to fix it." Her lips curved in a faint, embarrassed smile. "I don't think I'd be able to sleep knowing I had someone else's life sitting in my bedroom." Daniel felt an unexpected pull, admiration, maybe curiosity. There was something refreshing about her sincerity in a world where people often wanted something in return. He motioned for her to sit. "Let's have a coffee before you go. I think I owe you one, for doing the right thing." Emma hesitated but nodded, and as the minutes stretched into a quiet, easy conversation, neither of them realized that what began as a simple act of honesty was about to change both of their lives in ways neither could predict. Daniel hadn't expected to enjoy her company. When Emma first sat across from him, she was so anxious she nearly knocked over her cup. But as they talked, something in the air softened. The tension between them slowly dissolved into easy laughter. What began as small talk about travel delays and lost luggage turned into something deeper, unexpectedly personal. Emma confessed that she was a freelance illustrator, traveling to Madrid for a small art exhibit she'd been invited to. "It was a big deal for me," she said, stirring her coffee nervously. "My first show outside the country. I guess I was so tired after the flight that I didn't even check the name tag on the bag." Daniel smiled faintly. "You're not the first person to grab the wrong suitcase, but you might be the first to email me instead of vanishing with it." She laughed, the sound soft but genuine. "I figured you'd come looking for it eventually. Better to face the music early." He leaned back, watching her with quiet curiosity. He'd spent years surrounded by business meetings, polished conversations, and people who measured every word for advantage. But Emma, she was refreshingly unguarded. She didn't seem impressed by his title or intimidated by his presence. In fact, she didn't even mention his wealth or status once. When she spoke about her art, her eyes lit up. She showed him a quick sketch on her phone, a quiet street in Madrid, glowing with sunset hues. Daniel studied it, impressed. "You captured the light perfectly," he said. "It looks peaceful." Emma smiled shyly. "That's kind of what I chase. Moments that feel like they're standing still." Something about that struck him. His life was all motion. Deadlines, flights, negotiations. Peace was something he hadn't felt in years. Yet here, sitting across from this stranger who'd accidentally stolen his luggage, he felt it now. When they finally stood to leave, Daniel took the suitcase and hesitated. "You know," he said, a trace of warmth in his tone, "I think the universe has an odd sense of humor. If you hadn't taken this, we probably never would have met." Emma tilted her head, smiling. Then maybe it wasn't a mistake after all. Outside, the late afternoon sun painted the pavement gold. Daniel watched her walk away, a small, thoughtful smile tugging at his lips. He didn't quite understand why he felt lighter, or why he found himself already hoping to see her again. As Emma disappeared into the crowd, she felt it too, a strange sense that this mix-up wasn't over. Somewhere between a lost suitcase and a found connection, something new had quietly begun.